hear an ancient voice whispering from the void, and it chills my lightless heart.
G'day guys, Duckville here. We're going to watch a replay from the Team Liquid Star League number 3. This is going to be a match from the qualifiers number 6, I believe. There's obviously a lot of qualifiers that go down for the TSL because it is a huge tournament, so they're just actually getting to the end of those now. I believe next week will be the last qualifying session. So, as we mentioned, we're going to have a pretty cool game here. This is going to be between a Protoss and a Zerg. This is going to be LGAgh from Team Lazarus Gaming. As you can see here, he's going to be the Protoss up here on this side of the Xel'Naga Bat Caverns. Speaking of Bat Caverns, he's going to chuck down a pylon, so he's actually going to take the natural expansion pretty quickly here. Obviously going to go for a Forge Expand, we would assume. His opponent, meanwhile, down in the bottom left corner, being the 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock sort of position, of course, is Complexity Gaming Ryze. So Ryze is the red Zerg down here. Now, both of these guys are not highly known players, but they are very good players in their own right. So we'll hopefully see some interesting and fun little game here. This is a bit of a longer one, as you could probably see by the length of the actual VOD. So it certainly does look like it. Obviously, a lot of you guys will know that I'm into the longer games, and I love these longer ones. You get to see some aspects of gameplay that you don't always see in your standard sort of 15 to 20 minute games. So speaking of which, we do have the, as we mentioned, the Forge going down now at the expansion for LGAgh. He's going to get this one up, and this is going to be a little bit more safer. A lot of the times when we actually started out with this new map, Xel'Naga Caverns, people would put down a pylon here and then the Forge here and try and extend along there to get the Nexus down, but it's actually a lot safer if you can put your pylon here, where it's a little bit more protected and not easily in the range of Lings if they come along. Speaking of Lings, we do see that LGAgh has actually scouted out that the spawning pool is only just near completion now, so he's going to be alright to put down his one cannon here, and he probably will chuck down the Nexus straight away, so he'll be able to get that up and running. Meanwhile, down at the natural of Ryze, he's actually going to have a little bit of trouble getting his natural hatchery down. It does look like this probe has been running around being really annoying, just standing there, and probably going to put down a pylon. There it is. Beautiful timing there. Puts down the pylon just in time to block the hatchery, and that drone is not going to have a good day today when he reports back to work for that one. So the meanwhile, just as we mentioned there, the Nexus going down before a gateway, so LGAgh will actually be getting his economy off to a nice start pretty quickly here. He's chucked down another cannon just in case there are some extra Zerglings that come across. We do have 4 Zerglings out here just for the moment for Ryze, so he's going to scout around, check out for any pylons. This is one common thing you do see, although obviously not as common when someone's doing a Forge expand, but you do see some pylons just placed randomly around this sort of corner of the map in this hallway down here. So he's just checking out to see if there's anything there that he can take care of before it becomes a nuisance later on in the game, and as we can see, just starting to boost up his economy right now. If we have a look at the income tab, both of these guys doing essentially the exact same thing with their economy for the moment. Ryze has got all of his drones powering away on the minerals there now, putting down his first extractor, and meanwhile we do have essentially the exact same thing as we mentioned going on for LGAgh up here. So he's got, this is one thing that Ryze does have advantage of, is he can see everything that is going on. He will know that the Nexus is there. You can pretty much safely assume that the Nexus is already down as the Zerg player there, but we can see that LGAgh's starting to pop up the probes at this expansion here. We do have some Zerglings coming around. They're still checking around the map. Beautiful, a lot of vigilance there to make sure that you are checking around the map to make sure that there are no pylons. It's obviously a key aspect of Protoss versus Zerg, and in fact Protoss versus anything is half the game essentially is about putting down some pylons around the map, so just so you can warp in your units as soon as you can. We do have this pylon going in here. We'll probably see, this will probably be where the tech is from LGAgh once he gets one Stalker out, which I'm assuming will be coming along shortly. We don't have it just yet, but he will probably get it out in just a jiffy. There it is. He's going to get that one out shortly. Some Zerglings coming out to check what is going on up here. They do see the 1 cannon, 2 cannons, and they will be annihilated by those photon little ball things that they do shoot, and that will be the end of that. So Ryze now detecting that the gateway has been building. As we mentioned, the Zerglings saw that the gateway was up, and he'll probably safely assume that the Stalker is on the way. So Stalker on the way, and now that the Overlord is gone, LGAgh is safe to put up some buildings that he will be using for his production. And in fact, he puts down 4 gates, so we're going to see 5 gates in total for LGAgh at the moment. He doesn't have any extra gas just yet, although he does have the 2 in his main that are all going away, pumping away at that the Vespene gas in the main. So he is now getting the 3rd at the expansion though. So if we check out what Ryze is up to, he's got some creep chimmers floating around. He's certainly doing a great job of that. He's spreading it all around. He's going to need that to make sure he can use his defenses wisely. He does have a roach warren up already. That's going to be used to pump out some roaches, no doubt. We don't have any on the way just yet, but he certainly is teching. He is actually getting burrows, so we may see some burrowed roach action, which is always fun to see. Meanwhile, just back at the base of LGAgh, while we're waiting for something to happen, we've got LGAgh just powering up his tech. He's got his +1 weapons on the way. A few sentries being warped in there to make sure he has some sort of defense against the roaches once they do come through. And as we can see here, he does have, of course, these 3 cannons, which would be quite useful. But of course, now he's going to need something else a little bit more mobile to make sure he can defend once the roaches come out. Ryze down here is getting a 2nd hatch at his natural expansion, so he's going to have that one pumping out some more extra lava, which will be used to, of course, really boost up his economy. And of course, the actual military units that he'll be building is going hard at the roaches for the moment. It looks as if he may want to actually expand, which is pretty much one of the standard sort of things you want to see. When a Protoss is fast expanded, you really want to try and get another base so you can get ahead of them as well, because of course if you're a Zerg, you really do not want to be 1 base below your opponent, or even if possible. So looks as if Ryze is going to try and take out these rocks, which he will do just now. These roaches will be needed to come up and defend this little miniature push that is coming along from LGAgh at the moment. There is certainly way too many roaches for this attack force to contend with, but he does put down some force fields. Brilliant usage there of the force fields. Meanwhile, a couple of pylons are going up. Not quite sure why they're in the exact same location, but he does cancel them, of course, because he's not going to be able to get them up safely. Now we've got robotics facility just coming up right here from LGAgh. It's down at the natural expansion, which of course means that the robotics units can get out a little bit faster. And the second one, we're going to 2 robo this little party down here. So we're going to probably see some immortals pop out from LGAgh in just a jiffy once that all gets up and running. Meanwhile, the 3rd has now gone up for Ryze, so he's definitely looking to take this to a bit more of a macro experience for everyone here. The roach is now cleaning up the rocks there, just making sure that this gold is ready to take when necessary. And as we can see, brilliant little creep spread here from Ryze. He's doing a great job recarpeting Xel'Naga Caverns. I'm not sure what the Xel'Naga will think of that. However, we do have 1 observer coming out. I would not be surprised if we start to see Immortal straight after that, but it looks as if LGAgh just making sure he's got a lot of pylons to have the supply to make sure he can pump out some Immortals, given that they do take a little bit of supply up. They do take up 4, if I remember correctly. I don't actually use Immortals that much myself, but he's going to definitely need them against all of these roaches, which are now starting to come out here. Now, what we are probably going to see is we want to see if this observer survives and if it stays around the map, because he's going to need it against these roaches, which do have their foils. They've got their hair coloured, and you know, they've got some gel in there. They've got that all spiked up, and we'll probably see them attempt some sort of burrow fun, maybe. But given that there are the cannons here at the natural, I'm not sure what good that is going to do. But now, one thing which we have noticed actually a little bit in the TSL lately is that a lot of the players actually get the burrow and the burrowed movement and that sort of thing, but it's not really that useful against some of these high level players, because of course you've got at least 1 cannon to be a bit of a detector at the natural expansion, and then you generally do have observers around the map. So it has been a bit surprising to me to see a lot of the players actually getting burrowed roaches and that sort of thing. So oh well, we'll see how we go. We do have an attack force moving out here from LGAgh. He's going to come down here to the gold and take this one out. A lot of sentries in here and a lot of energy on these sentries as well. So that's going to really help him out when he comes down to battle with these roaches when they come down the street to battle here. There are a few Hydras in the back which are going to be quite useful. He does now have +1 to his missile attack, which is really going to help him out, but this is all going to depend on the force fields, of course. Force fields being one of the main powerhouse parts of a Protoss arsenal. A lot underestimated sometimes is that players do not utilize force fields as well as they could. However, we do have some Immortals wailing away at those roaches, which decided to come up. Beautiful little arc there from the force fields there, capturing in some of these roaches, and he will capture them out. Hey, check this out. We actually have a wall of spine crawlers deciding that this is going to be the last stand of the Zerg. He's going to just chuck up a whole bunch of spine crawlers and he's going to poke away whenever LGAgh decides to attack. And now LGAgh, seeing that, decides that it's probably the best idea for him is to take this gold expansion if he can and make sure he keeps up with the Zerg economy. Meanwhile, he's just having a little face-off down here in front of the spine crawlers. You do not want to push in against that many spine crawlers this early, because losing these early forces would be a huge detriment. Of course, losing any forces, I suppose, is a bad thing, but especially in this case here where he's trying to take the gold, he did not want to lose too many of your units just at the start here. We do have another little Pokemon ball capturing those Hydras. Beautifully placed force fields there again from LGAgh. We're going to probably see a few more of that shortly once we actually get into the battles. But what it'll be interesting to see if what Ryze actually does with his composition. He does have a lot of corruptors out at the moment. We just got one Colossus for the moment. Of course, Colossus being a really high damage unit for the Protoss forces. Once you get a bunch of them out, once you got like sort of 4 to 6 of them out, they are really hard to stop, especially for Zerg if you don't have a whole lot of corruptors. Now, of course, the other advantage of the Colossus is that they will absolutely burn through these Hydralisks once they get in range. And of course, with the extended thermal lance, which is on the way, that will be extended a whole heap, and that will make those Colossi quite powerful. So if we just go down here to see what's on the way from Ryze, we do have a Hive on the way. He is going to obviously get to the Broodlord tech if he can, which will really help him out when he's trying to pressure LGAgh's expansions. But we do see here that Evo chambers are on the way. We've got triple Evo chambers. The plus, I think that's +2. Yep, the +2 to the missile attacks of the Zerg is on the way. We'll probably see a couple more on the way as well. I would not be surprised if we see Ultralisks perhaps in the near future as well once this Hive is done. Meanwhile, we've got both of these players doing a great job with their economy there. As we can see, Ryze way in front, and as speaking of way in front, we got more spine crawlers. Don't want to worry about building too many ground units. You just build a whole heap of spine crawlers. That's the way Ryze is going to play this one out. But back to the economy here. Ryze, as we said, doing a great job taking this 4th base, of course, which is really going to help him out. And of course, with the extra lava production, as we just saw here, that's really going to make him able to actually resupply all of his units once they do die, if they do die. But we'll see what happens here. We do have 5 Colossi here. That's certainly going to be a lot for Ryze to contend with, but he's not coming up just yet. It does look as if he's just content to sit here at this gold base and do what he can here. Meanwhile, coming up to this 4th base here, chucking down a few cannons to make sure this is a little bit more defendable if any attacks were to occur. Check out these spine crawlers. We got all of these spine crawlers, a double layer of spine crawlers over here, which is interesting to see. And it looks as if Ryze is just happy to sit back behind that wall, which is a very powerful wall, of course. But we'll see what happens here. LGAgh does have a whole heap of Colossi. There are a lot of Corruptors to contend with as well. But we'll see if his Stalkers can micro in front to take out those Corruptors. It does look as if he's trying his best, but the battle is not going to take place just yet. LGAgh is sort of stuck thinking about what he's going to do against all of these spine crawlers. Meanwhile, Ryze chucking down more spine crawlers, as you can see here. And he's just going to just power ahead with building all of these spine crawlers. Meanwhile, taking a 5th and a 6th base, of course. These are going to be done shortly. And once they are, Ryze is going to be in a really good position, depending on how LGAgh actually plays this one out. He's going to need a few more Colossi, no doubt, and of course some anti-air units wouldn't go too far as well. He's powered up a lot of his gateways. He's got 6 gateways on the way, so he's got a total of 13 at the moment, plus a few Stargates are on the way as well. So he's going to look to head to Void Rays, I would assume. Void Rays being one of the probably the best later game unit to use, because they are great against Ultralisks, of course, because unfortunately Ultralisks can't jump because they don't wear shoes, and they cannot hit the Void Rays. The Void Rays, of course, also being really good in good numbers against Hydras and the Corruptors as well, sort of depending on the actual number count. But we'll see what happens. So I would assume that's where he's going, but we'll see what happens. As we mentioned, Broodlords are on the way. We've got 5 Broodlords morphing in here, plus the we're getting +1 air weapons for LGAgh as well. He's certainly going to go down the Void Ray trail. As we can see on the production tab, we do have 4 Void Rays in production. These Stargates now warping in as fast as they can. They're going to need to as well, because these Broodlords are going to be coming up here and causing a bit of havoc, and of course the Void Rays do a great job against them as well. Brilliantly timed is the move of these Corruptors up here to this to the main base here, and we're going to see a battle. Meanwhile, those Void Rays are going to be in trouble from those Corruptors, but some brilliant little force fields going down there, capturing some of those Zerg units, and the Colossus are going to have to be very careful though. The Broodlords are going to be pounding away at them where they can. The looks as if we're going to see these Stalkers hopefully move in here to take out some of these Broodlords. There you go, the blink comes off, picking off these Broodlords, and that is going to be the end of that attack. Although, as we mentioned, the Corruptors were over there at the main base of LGAgh, and they're going to pick off, they probably picked off all of those Void Rays, no doubt, and it looks as if this battle is going to be halted, of course, by the Great Wall of Ryze. Something like, how many, we got at least 20 to 30 spine crawlers in total along this Great Wall, and there is realistically no way that LGAh's going to be able to push through that without a whole heap more Colossus. So we'll see what happens, or of course the Void Rays. So he's sort of doubled up in his Stargates at the moment. Perhaps putting down a couple more Stargates would help out, but of course he's got a lot to contend with at the moment. He is trying to push across through the Great Wall of spine crawlers here, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen. As we mentioned, there's just not enough Colossi to do the damage, and of course these Corruptors sitting off to the side. And even more Broodlords are on the way. We've got 8 Broodlords sitting in here, which are going to cause a lot of trouble if they can sit in this this sort of dead zone in the middle here, where the air units can sit off to the side and still take shots at the ground forces. But meanwhile, LGAh's pressuring this 5th or 6th base, I don't know, whichever way you want to take it. He's going to come in here and try and pressure that. Meanwhile, the Broodlords coming across here, throwing down the little babies. That's not really cool. It's Michael Jackson style, throwing your babies over the edges, but we'll see if he can contend with all these Colossi. And the Colossus, of course, being ripped apart by these Corruptors which have come over. Meanwhile, the Void Rays have come through. Finally, we've got a few Void Rays to try and contend with all of these Corruptors, but you really want to see them move across to the Broodlords. But once they have finished off these Corruptors, that will no doubt be the plan of attack. And indeed they will come across here. He has now actually selected them on to the Broodlords, as we just saw there. Meanwhile, another attack, just a tiny little flanking attack going in here to the 4th base of LGAgh, and just battles going on all over the place. This is like a Pokemon convention or something, I don't know. But this is going off everywhere here. This gold base actually is, interestingly, very close to mined out. We do have just a few more patches left over if these Colossus will get out of the way. There we go. It's getting close to being mined out, so we'll see how this progresses from here. Check this out. We've got these spine crawlers still here. The Great Wall of spine crawlers going across. This is even starting to extend over here. So we'll see if he can just start to actually segment the map with spine crawlers, which would be interesting to see. Meanwhile, LGAgh coming across with his Colossus, trying to pressure and do what he can, but it looks as if he may just be trying to just actually sacrifice some of his supply perhaps, so he can get a few more Void Rays out, because we do see that these 4 Stargates are pumping away, except for that one. That one's actually a bit stuck for the moment. It's not sure what the plan was, but it looks as if he may just try and actually just mass up on those Void Rays and then do what he can with those. But the trouble that he's going to have at the moment is that he really needs to get this expansion going as best as he can, which it certainly is, as we can see there, but he really is going to need this 5th base, because as we mentioned, a lot of this gold is almost gone. We do have the main dead, of course, as well. The Corruptors coming along to try and poke off what they can. They're going to shoot their little rocket things or whatever the hell they are shooting at this Void Ray. This one Void Ray just barely going to get away. And it looks as if he's going to try and chase down these Corruptors to stay on top of them, because if they sit over these Stargates here, this is not going to be cool for those Void Rays. Could you imagine that? It's like you get home and then you just get slapped in the face by a Corruptor. But as we can see here, we've got Ryze doing a great job with his economy, as we mentioned before. He's currently sitting on 81 drones to 62 of LGAgh, but of course the drones are going to be used a lot in spine crawlers. No doubt some roaches coming along here trying to pressure into this gold expansion, but they're not really going to do too much. Meanwhile, the corruptors picking off those void rays when they pop out of the main base there. But as we can see, these roaches are going to try and do what they can to come in here. If they can pick off this cybernetics core, that would actually be a nice little bonus there for Ryze, and they do indeed pick it off. Meanwhile, the void rays are starting to get into pretty huge numbers, although they are slowly being picked off by these corruptors. The corruptors now going down, the colossi just starting to pick off those roaches. And that was the end of that battle. So if these, as we mentioned, if these void rays can get into significant numbers, this will actually be a great way for ARG to finish off this game. Meanwhile, the trouble he's going to have is keeping this 5th base secure. As we can see, Ryze can just send up whatever little groups of units he wants and just start picking away at things here. The Stalker's coming in to save, but it's still going to take him a lot of effort to actually get that 5th base up and running, especially considering Ryze has the Great Wall of Spine Crawlers, which he can use just to sit behind and just randomly send his units up to poke away at the base of ARG. Now, as you can see here, as we mentioned, just now, the actual just little pokes of units just running around the map, and given how immobile Protoss can be, especially when all you've got is just a couple of stalkers and the colossi, is that it's really hard to actually get around the map and make sure you are keeping your opponent at bay, especially when there are some broodlords around. But there is only one broodlord for the moment, I believe. Yeah, only just one. 22 roaches, 6 corruptors, 7 infestors on the way, which will be interesting to see. Infestors, of course, will be able to put down some fungal growth action on the void rays once they get into significant numbers, and as we can see, that is starting to come into fruition here. The void ray is currently sitting at a count of 9, I believe. Yep, and we will probably see a few more pop out shortly. Yeah, they've got a few more on the way. I'd want to see a couple of cannons perhaps just in this main base to fend off those corruptors when they do come along, but I'm not really sure if ARG actually wants to spend his minerals on something like that, given that he is, as we mentioned, having trouble with this 5th base. But it looks as if he may have it up and running. These void rays, though, are going to still run into a lot of trouble trying to escape this base. They are getting pounded away by these corruptors. The corruptors picking off 3 of those void rays, which is really going to hurt ARG in his progression of this massive void ray flock. But we'll see what happens. We do have a couple of overlords just checking out what's going on at the 5th base. They notice that it is up and running. This Templar Archives is an interesting addition to the forces of ARG. He's probably going to go for Storm as best as he can, and he'll probably try and use that to pick off whatever units that are available, but we'll see if he has the gas to support that. Meanwhile, Ryze just moving around the map. He's just sitting here, you know, just chilling out in the middle of the map, not worrying about this this base here. He is now moving into the natural expansion. We'll take away that unit tab because that was getting huge, because of course Ryze has 10 billion units. Even sending up some drones here. What are you doing? You should be morphing those into spine crawlers. There are clearly not enough spine crawlers on the map. Meanwhile, ARG looks as if he doesn't really care just for the moment. He's going to struggle, of course, with an attack on this size force, and as well with these with the infestors being here. That's not really going to help either, but we'll see what he can come up with. He does have a lot of Archons here, 5 Archons here morphing in, and they will be a lot of damage that will be coming into the Zerg forces here. The final battle, I would assume, perhaps. We got some Colossi down the back. The Void Rays coming in from the side. The Void Rays now starting to charge up there. However, not really getting too far on their charges, though. A couple of them on level 2 charge. The Infestors infesting those Archons there, pulling up the Infested Archon trick. And he does still succumb to this pretty powerful laser ball here from ARG. He's got these 4 Colossus. He's got a whole bunch of... we've still got those 9 Void Rays. And this is a really powerful laser ball, as we mentioned here. So ARG's going to come across to this to the 5th base of Ryze, and is going to do what he can. Meanwhile, some of the Colossi are going to try and shoot away at the Great Wall of Spine Crawlers. The map has been split in this regard, of course, but it looks as if ARG may have the upper hand here. He does have +1 to the Particle Beam on the Void Ray, and the Colossus, of course, do have +3, so they're going to do a whole heap of damage against these Zerg units. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, some Hydras are coming in an attempt to shut down this 5th base. If he can shut it down, they'll essentially be on even footing, and meanwhile, even footing, if you have a quick look on the minimap, is actually 4 useless expansions which have no minerals and essentially no gas either, except perhaps for ARG here with this this 3rd base, which will be having a little bit of minerals left over, but soon that will be gone. Cybernetics core over here at the gold expansion. If you can't keep it at the natural, put it at the gold expansion. That's what ARG's motto is for the moment. Meanwhile, the Great Wall of Spinecrawlers still up, as you can see here, the double stretch over here, which is going to be really hard for ARG to bust through unless he has a few more Void Rays popping out, which I don't believe he does. However, these ones, as we mentioned before, are going to do a whole heap of damage. The Hydra's coming across, going to do what they can, but the Colossus are going to sit down at the back and just pick away at the Hydras where they can. But it looks as if ARG may be able just to micro his way through this, doing some great little maneuvers here, just slowly picking off these Spinecrawlers. We'll probably have to go and get lunch and dinner, and then he'll probably be done. That's how many Spinecrawlers there are. Meanwhile, these Infestors just coming up to see what's going on, just checking out the action here. Meanwhile, drones just going long distance mining to this 5th expansion here. I would love to see just like one or two Zealots coming across just to pick away slowly at the drones there of Ryze. Meanwhile, one of the Spinecrawlers getting into range of the Colossi there, taking a few pokes there, but not really doing too much damage. Meanwhile, Void Rays starting to get into that sort of number that we mentioned there. We've currently got a total of 12 Void Rays sitting here, ready to attack if those Corruptors or anything come along, or if he can fend off the Hydras. Where are those Hydras? Not really sure. Here they are. We've got the Hydras down here. Not really too much left over here for Ryze. If he can defend this, this will actually be a miraculous comeback if he can hold this off. The Great Wall of Spinecrawlers not really going to be too much against these Void Rays. However, an Infestor comes in. He's going to need to be really careful of these Infestors. If he gets caught out in the open, ARG could be in a world of hurt, because if these get fungal growth on them, you cannot get that off. You really need to get some Pino Clean to clean that crap off, and then you have to worry about the Hydras coming in to finish off the Void Rays as well. So what we really want to see is ARG try and use this, the dead zone that we mentioned before, just a little bit more to see if he can just sort of get some good angles on the Spinecrawlers here. But of course, he will essentially just need to be very, very careful with each and every Void Ray that he has. He's slowly picking off units here. It looks as if we have an army count obviously sitting quite high for ARG here, with many, many Void Rays here. Fungal growth goes down. This is probably going to be the last battle. Some Infestors using the Neural Parasite to pick up the Colossi, and the Colossi are going to shoot away at those Stalkers here, but it looks as if these Void Rays are just going to be too powerful there, and there's the GG from Ryze. Brilliant play from ARG, actually using the Void Rays to his advantage there, switching sort of at that mid to late game stage of the game, and of course Ryze with his huge and hilarious wall of Spinecrawlers, unfortunately not able to poke up in the air for some reason. I have no idea why they can't poke up in the air if you look at it from an RP perspective. Look at them, they could poke up in the air, but whatever. Great little play there from ARG. Brilliant to see that Void Ray switch just at the end there when you're in trouble and you really need to sort of secure a base, and he did that quite well. So kudos to both of these guys there, and we're going to see, I'm going to grab a couple more of the TSL replays and some of the good ones and cast them. So I'll be putting them in the thread, which I will put in the description once this game is up on YouTube. If you have any favorites from the TSL that you saw, make sure you jump into the thread that's listed below, see if you can find the replay, and if possible, I'll cast it, and we'll hopefully have some hilarity from some of these other replays, and obviously some incredibly high level play. So thank you very much guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe, leave some comments and all that jazz. Cheers.